session. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the quarterly PwC SME Masterclass. My name is Abisola Atitebi. I'm an associate director in PwC in the assurance business, and I also oversee the SME desk. The objective of our masterclasses, if you've attended one, is actually to discuss the issues pertinent to SMEs and also create awareness about the PwC SME desk, where we provide services to SMEs. Today's session will be focusing on how we leverage technology in our business. And this morning will be very insightful as we hear the text about the importance and also hear from pioneers who have leveraged technology in their business as a way to start business and also expand their business. It promises to be an insightful session. Just before I go ahead, we'll first hear from our West Market technology leader in PwC, Femi Oshinobi. Femi Oshinobi, welcome, and please go on to take on the opening remarks.
Thank you, Abisola. I hope everyone can hear me. Good morning, and thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today at PwC. On behalf of my fellow partners and it's a pleasure to welcome you all to this event, the PwC Nigeria SME event themed Leveraging Technology for your business. Just a brief, on today's theme. We all agree that SMEs are the ones that drive the economy these days for most developed nations, and according to the World Bank, they account for most of the companies worldwide and contribute to the GDP and main sources of employment around the world. And they also play a similar role in Nigeria and across Africa, especially Nigeria, where the SMEs actually contribute 48% of the GDP and 86% on the employment in Nigeria. So I'm sure we've heard that most businesses die in the first 5 years of operations. That is very true, due to the numerous challenges faced. In Nigeria in particular, the challenges faced by SMEs vary from funding, ever-changing regulatory environment, which a lot of businesses face, management capabilities, what we call BYOE, which is bring your own everything environment. You've got to do everything yourself. Operational challenges, and the list is endless. And hence, it's important for management owners of SMEs to pay attention to challenges faced in their daily operations, how they identify their customers, prospective customers, how SMEs sell to customers, how SMEs manage their books, of their businesses, so that they can actually have control of such businesses. The advent of emerging technologies can play a big part in helping SMEs overcome the challenges faced. So you hear of data and analytics. Those are not buzzwords these days. Those are actually required to run all sizes of businesses these days. The way analytics can transform your business, help you identify potential customers to prospect, or identify new opportunities to sell to customers. While managing, the SMEs' day-to-day activities, technologies like robotics, those are real and they are not expensive. Our PAs, they help in performing activities like your bookkeeping, raising invoices, payroll management, and those are things that are normally done by human beings, but our PAs are being deployed across businesses. Overall, technology gives small business owners and their employees the option to work in the office, from home, on the road, and even across anywhere from the country. With technology, even with small businesses, you can actually work from anywhere. So affording small business owners the opportunity to hire talent from all over the world as well. Technology can help businesses gain a competitive advantage in the global environment. So as we proceed with the session today, we've got some eminent panelists here today, and which I would like to thank for joining us. Mrs. Saudat Salami, CEO and founder Easy Shop, Easy Cook, and Mr. Akindele Phillips, co-founder and CEO of FanCrowdy. I thank you for honoring our invitation today. Those two people with Abisola will be introducing and guiding us on how technology can help transform the business, the way you run your businesses, and transform your businesses going forward. So, and I'm sure they will do justice to this topic. I want to say thank you to everyone once again for attending the session. So let's sit back, take notes, ask questions, and most importantly, learn ways to grow our businesses. Thank you. And over to you, Abisola. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Femi. Thank you very much. That was very, very, very good. That is a fantastic introduction to what we will do today. I would next call on my colleague, Saeed Bashir, who's an associate director in PwC. He focuses on supporting clients and managing technology risk and unearthing insights from their data. He will do justice to the insights and the text around leveraging technology in business. So I welcome Saeed.
Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. My name is Saeed Bashir. I'm an associate director in PwC. And I'll be taking us through a journey in the next 20 minutes of how technology can actually help the SME business. So as a starting point, we all know that SMEs, just like the technology leader has said, it's a significant component that contributes to the national GDP. Also, in terms of even job creation, the SME, accounts for about 84% of the employment in Nigeria. So, which implies that this is a critical element of job creation engine for the country. So talking about technology, so in basic economics, we used to say that there were 4 factors of production. Business schools today have actually added technology as a 5th factor. And the reason is because technology has become a key enabler in how to run businesses. A lot of SMEs, they actually see technology as an afterthought, which shouldn't be the case because the role technology plays in enabling SMEs to scale their businesses and also ensure that they survive the volatile, uncertain, and complex business environment that we have of today is something that we cannot overemphasize. And a lot of conversations that we've had with SMEs suggest that, a lot of people actually see cost as one of the key inhibitors of adopting technology. What they also need to realize is that it is not only a cost, but it should rather be seen as an investment. And there are actually a lot of models that we can adopt in order to deploy technology. So I'll be looking at some areas where we can actually leverage technology in our business. So I will also talk about some of the issues, some of the options that we have in terms of the technology we can adopt. So talking about financial management, what has happened is a lot of small businesses primarily use Excel to capture their daily transactions, record and process their internal transactions. But, the limitations are actually there. So it will not enable you to scale as you would have loved. And, by the time you're doing a lot of these things manually, there'll be a lot of errors. There'll be a lot of instances whereby you can't even account for all your transactions. You can't even process all your transactions. So some organizations actually generate their PO, manually. They generate all their receipts and invoices manually, So it has a lot of, downside in terms of inability to be accurate, inability to completeness is also an issue. What are the options that organizations have when it comes to using technology for managing their finances? So there are a couple of accounting softwares that can be considered. Some of them are actually low cost. To be honest, a lot of them are actually free, depending on the size of your business. And this is one thing that organizations need to start considering. And also the adoption of certain technology such as bots to enable you all those monotonous transactions. Maybe you want to do bank reconciliation. So these are things that technology can actually take over and ensure that, you are more efficient in the way you deal with this. So talking about CRM, customer relationship management, this actually means different things to different people. How do you increase your sales? How do you ensure that, you reach your potential customers? The reality is that most of our customers for businesses that we do today, they are actually on their mobile phones. How do you take your businesses to them? Through the use of technology. Any organization that does not have an app, they should start to think about this. Any organization that is still focused on doing things manually, any organization that is not leveraging analytics to analyze their customer data so that they can get insights. A typical business owner, depending on the size of the business, can only run an efficient and profitable business if they understand their customers. What does the customer need? Who are my top 10 customers? Top 10 by revenue, top 10 by profits. How do I ensure that, on the online real time, I'm able to reach my customer. I'm also able to make projections. So if a customer has a particular buying pattern, how do I ensure that, I'm on top in the event that, this customer stops buying or is about to churn? How do I ensure that I quickly react, through the appropriate measure? It may be through promotions, it may be through customer engagement, it may be through many means. So technology also play an important role here. So also talking about supply chain management. So whether it is inward or outward supply chain, technology plays a key role. So for example, you want to buy from your vendors, you want to buy cheap, you want to buy timely, you want to buy quality, and you also want to have a good customer experience. So technology plays an important role in this. So a lot of organizations, especially suppliers, they are deploying a lot of B2Bs. How do you, as an SME, key into this so that online real time you can easily monitor what is available from your supplier? Even the how toward delivery in terms of even your finished products, how do you ensure that you take it, to the customers in an online real-time manner through the use of technology? It may be through the use of your apps, it may be through the use of your websites, it may be through the use of any social media, components that you have within your business. The overall effect of this is you save costs, you reach more audience in terms of customers, and you also create a unique customer experience. Remember, we also said we are in a volatile, uncertain, and complex world. Competition is also trying to take out your market share. So if you're not innovative through the use of technology, you always find yourself at the back seat. Another interesting area is the area of tax compliance. So a lot of organizations, because of the way they keep their records, they find it difficult to comply with the tax requirements. So when the tax authority comes knocking, they are always in a panic mood. How do you use technology to ensure that all your transactions that are vatable are properly, monitored? Click of a button, you can generate a report, and that's your filing report, which you can send to the regulators, rather than doing things haphazardly in an uncontrolled manner. So there are a lot of RegTech, solutions in terms of regulatory technology that organizations, SMEs, can also adopt to ensure that they monitor all their all their transactions for tax reporting, and they also ensure compliance to all this. And compliance has become so important because, even the tax authority, they are also always increasing their budget. And therefore, we need to ensure that we don't run afoul of the law, and also ensure that will pay the minimum tax that, would ensure that you are compliant with the law. And tax can actually be a sort of competitive advantage for you, especially when you're trying to expand your business, you are trying to attract investors, you are trying to also report to your stakeholders. It's also something that we can use technology. So payroll is also an important area where you want to ensure that you don't only, fulfill the requirements of the law by ensuring that you pay based on the contract that you have with your staff, but you also don't want to do double payments. You also don't want to errors in payments. You want to ensure that all the deductions are clearly noted, and there is no point doing this traditionally every month. This can be automated. The good thing about this technology in this area is there are a lot of solutions out there, even solutions in the cloud, whereby the only thing you will do at the end of the month is just to review and click the button, and payroll is done. All your administrative tasks, record keeping, employee record management, everything will be done, and all your data will be secured in the cloud. So there are solutions, available to handle this important aspect of the SME business. Cost consideration. So like I said earlier on, a lot of people see the cost side. Rather, it should be investment in technology. One-time cost and recurring cost, those are the two categories of cost. You want to set up the software, hardware, licensing, and some recurring costs like maintenance. But the good news is you also need to take a step back and say, do I want to own or I want to use when it comes to technology? Owning means I want to install my hardware, I want to install all this. Using means I just want the service, And a lot of use models are out there whereby you have a web solution that you subscribe to, and it handles all the key areas of your business. So this is a decision that small SMEs need to take. So I have a use case here, which I'll use to wrap up my presentation about a Store X, which is a fashion business. They have about 20 to 50 clients, so about 200 transactions on a monthly basis. They make their transfers from their banks through an online payment gateway. They're trying to also expand. They are receiving offers from angel investors, and they also have online viewers of their catalog on their social media platform. And they've also recruited new people to manage their sales. So what are the challenges faced by these Store X? A lot of things are done manually, invoice processing, PO processing, everything is done manually. They are struggling with bookkeeping. Because it is manual, it is prone to errors, prone to mutilation, confidentiality issues, and all that. They also have not been compliant with payroll taxes, with their regulatory taxes, such as payroll, VAT, and with increasing online awareness, they are finding it difficult to retain customers, especially because more innovative competitors are taking their market share. And they also observe that investor requirements are also very huge, when it comes to all the things that they need to comply with. So talking about how does this SME, how do they, take advantage of technology to solve their problem? So the areas where they can actually use technology. So for bookkeeping, they can use technology through the use of the software. It may be an accounting software. It may even be a cloud solution where they are actually operating the use model, where they actually use a module of a cloud solution through their web address. They can access this solution. Then business intelligence is also something that is very important for them to stay on top of what is happening in their business. So from a descriptive analytics point of view, what are the historicals of what has happened or transpired in their business? Then also human capital support, where you can actually process your staff records as well as their payroll. Tax compliance through the use of appropriate RegTech solution. Then also digital marketing. Okay. So for bookkeeping and accounting, so the journey is for them to identify revenue sources and expenses. And, like I said, you can adopt a cloud-based accounting software, Zobo, QuickBooks, Sage 50, quite a number of them, in the market which they can adapt. And they can also automate the sales and purchasing process, whereby they have a connection through the use of their apps and websites to their customers. Customers can make payments online, and they can also make their orders from their suppliers also online real time, rather than having need to travel miles to be able to reach their suppliers. And the benefits, are numerous in terms of access to company accounts and financial figures online real time. Even, at the tip of your mobile phone, you can see what is happening in your organization, in as much as you have the right infrastructure to support it. And it's actually minimal investment, because the only thing you need is just an internet access, and you have access to all your information and it reduces paperwork, sharing and collaboration with all your team members and key decision makers within the business. And there are also free packages, like I mentioned earlier on, for small businesses. The area of business intelligence, they identify the data managed by the organization. And there are a lot of solutions also out there, Power BI, Tableau, ClickView, quite a number of solutions that can be adopted. And what has happened is there are also a lot of solutions that are cloud-based. So you don't even need to incur any significant infrastructure capital costs. So what you simply need is you upload your data and you see your dashboard in an online real-time manner. And you also have it customized, and it also has a lot of triggers and alerts in case you are monitoring certain KPIs or key risk indicators that are important to your business success. So that's another area where business intelligence can be used. Then for the human capital support, so like I mentioned earlier, there are quite a number of technologies that can be adopted in the human capital space. Some of them you don't need to incur huge capital costs, and everything is automated from your HC in terms of even your onboarding to hiring to retirement. Everything is automated, and the documents are properly cataloged in the cloud. So there is minimal investment in these. Also, this is an option that SMEs can consider. However, if you are a fan of, I want to have my server, that option also exists. But it's just that it is a more expensive option rather than the cloud option. So for tax compliance, so what the organization needs to do is to identify the tax obligations, as well as the industry-specific obligations around all the tax areas. And they can configure appropriate HR tech regulatory solution. A couple of them also exist. I know of a solution called TaxWheel. What you simply need to do is you just upload all your transactions within the format, upload it to the cloud, and it will just give you your reports, which will also have a report that you can actually submit to the tax authorities. And it will also have reports that key decision makers, can actually use, to update the tax strategy, to take decisions when it comes to tax compliance. So for digital marketing and customer service, this is also an interesting area, because most of our customers as SMEs, the reality is they're actually on their mobile phones. So we need to take our businesses to them. through the use of our online marketing plan, our social media plan, and also collate content that are interesting to our customers in terms of what others are buying. And I can share a recent experience that I have, buying pizza, online. I wanted to buy pizza, and one of the things that popped up, these are the last 3 orders that you made. You want to repeat any of these orders, So the customer experience is also very important, The reality is I'll go back, because of the experience I have. So SMEs need to think, innovation, and how technology will enable this is something, SMEs need to work on. So in terms of adopting marketing and commerce tool, so there are quite a number of options that SMEs need to, adopt, like MailChimp, Slack, Upstore, and Canva, for the purpose of marketing and reaching out to your customers, as well as potential customers. We may also now rule out the effect of social media influencing, where a lot of organizations are beginning to use social media influencers to increase their capital base, even to the extent that even fashion designers, I know of a fashion designer who said, I'm no longer taking orders because it was overwhelming the impact that technology through the use of social media has actually done to increase the customer uptake. So it's also interesting to know that you could also have a blog to target, your potential customers, and also to engage your current customers to also get feedback and online reviews. So the interesting thing is when people want to buy now, instead of asking Mr. Hey, what happened, what they really do now is they read the reviews online. So from the review online, they take the decisions. That is what, your competition, that is what they're doing. The people that will take your market share, that is what you're doing. So you also need to do something like that or something even better than that. And what are the benefits of this, increase revenue? So I think in summary, I will summarize by saying that technology has become a business necessity. As SMEs, we need to determine which area of technology need do we have, depending on the type of business that we do, depending on also the maturity of our business, and also on the complexity and the number of transactions that we are managing in our business. Then we need to prioritize and also have a technology budget. That is what I believe from my interactions with a lot of SMEs. They don't have a technology budget. You need to have a technology budget so that you see technology as an investment rather than a cost. And you also need to implement the technology, manage the risk associated with the technology to ensure that your customers' records are secure, safe, and you assess the impact the technology has had on your business so that you can improve on this technology. Then you repeat the cycle. Once you repeat the cycle, you will evolve. You understand what even competition is doing so that you can outdo them. And my parting shot is that technology is an investment, and it should be seen as an investment because it yields significant results for your business. And I believe that the panelists will also do a lot of justice by sharing, practical examples of how they have used technology. So I will hand over to Bisola for the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was very good. You're right. Technology is an enabler for businesses to scale, to also create reach to customers, create efficiency and diversify. And I guess ultimately build resilience, especially in the last 18 months of the pandemic. I remember when we had Tara of the Tara House join us on our first SME seminar. Okay,
so I think we're having some challenges with Bisola's internet. So I'll take over pending the time she comes back. So essentially what we're saying is that technology, is a business necessity, is an imperative for business success. The way we used to look at technology as a high-end solution is no longer the case, for businesses to remain profitable, to survive competition, and for them to be able to scale, technology is something that is very, very important in this area. So going through the question and answer session. Okay. So I'll go through some of the questions that already came in. And so the first question is, how can we benefit from the high competitive environment through the use of technology? And I will attempt to answer this question. So the reality is competition is something that would exist, but the way in which this competition, are in today's world, because we are now in a borderless world, we are no longer competing with businesses that are located very close to us in terms of proximity. We are competing with the world. To the extent that so a service provider, may sit down in Argentina, and actually take out your customer, even though you are located in Victoria Island. That is the reality. So how do you use technology? And I think I mentioned a couple of them, during my presentation. So in terms of customer experience and also use of innovative solutions to be able to win your customers, to be able to excite your customers, to be able to even predict what your customers, will be interested in. I think that is an area where where SMEs can actually use technology, as a competitive edge. So, and I gave an example recently about pizza. So you see, so whenever you go to any of these online shops, you see a lot of things around, customers who bought this also bought this. That's also an avenue to upsell, and also cross-sell. So any business can actually adopt this model through the use of machine learning and artificial intelligence. And most of these solutions are not solutions that are high-end in the real sense. It is what SMEs are using in other parts of the world. So SMEs in Nigeria can also adopt a similar solution, to gain competitive advantage. So that's the first question that came up. So the second question that I have here is, how does the owner of a progressive startup business protect his intellectual idea? This question comes to bear because no one can do it, and there is always the need for a business owner to bring some hands in the quest of driving business idea to fruition. Okay, so this is actually a mixed question talking about the legal requirements of businesses. How do you ensure that you protect your intellectual property? So the first thing is we need to also seek legal counsel when we're taking any decision when it comes to our business. I know a lot of SMEs may think legal cost, that is also a cost, but it's actually something that is worthwhile. I expect all SMEs to have at least an advisor, a legal advisor, to guide them through how to protect their intellectual property. That is on one hand. On the other hand, any solution that you are trying to buy, in terms of any technology solution, whether it is a cloud solution, whether it is an on-premise solution. So it's always good to read between the lines. Where will my data be stored? How do I ensure that my data will not be available to people without need for this information? How do I protect my customer data? How do I protect my vendor data? How do I protect the BVN, the NIM, and those information relating to my staff? How do I protect all those? So you need to ensure that, you understand what controls are in place, over your service provider's business that will also guarantee the confidentiality and the security of your own company data. So what some organizations also do is they have a third-party assurance report. But if you don't ask, they may not provide it to you. It's something you should ask your service provider. Is there an assurance report over their infrastructure that will give you confidence about the security, integrity, and availability of their information system asset before you even sign any contract with them? So these are some of the safeguards that you can use to ensure that you protect your businesses, from unauthorized access, or also protect your intellectual property. So those are the two questions that I have in the question box.
Can you hear me?
Bisola, are you back?
Yeah. Yes, I'm back. So let me. There's another question that I had. I think you should answer. Does the cost of technology reduce in the long run?
Yes, it does. So what has happened is, I talked about the own or use model. So if you are using the own model, whereby you want to have your own infrastructure in terms of hardware, software, you want to install it on-prem, all those initial capital costs, they are one-off. You already have your server, you have your licensing, incrementally on an annual basis. What you need to pay, most of these service providers, especially for software licensing, they will charge you in the range of 5 to 10% of your initial license fee on an annual basis. So, which implies that, if you spend 100% in year one, in year two, you are only spending 10% for license renewal. So eventually, it reduces over a period of time, right? So that's the answer to that question. But when you talk about the use model, the use model is pay-per-use. And they have a formula to determine how much you'll be paying on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis. In this case, you don't incur any infrastructure costs. What you simply do is you just need an internet access, and they will provision you, and you pay, per use. So that's the answer to that, Bisola.
Okay, so then the last one I would have is, there's this. Can you hear me? There is this understanding that there's always has to be physical presence. So how do SMEs use technology advancement to increase productivity for building construction? Did you hear that?
Yes, I got your question. So I don't know the nature of the business. So the nature of the business will determine whether the brick and mortar model is going to be appropriate for that business. And I'll give you an example. School business. School business, we used to think, it has to be brick and mortar, but COVID-19 has actually given us the reality that it doesn't have to be brick and mortar. So there are a lot of financial institutions that are actually changing their model in terms of ensuring you don't actually need all the physical structure that you're constructing. So changing the business model, changing the business strategy is one thing that SMEs need to start thinking about. Do I need to do brick and mortar in the real sense? My customers, do they want to visit my physical locations? Can I just take this using my app and using my social media handles to my customers? Having said that, so how do you then reduce your cost of construction? I think the best thing to do to reduce your cost of construction is to do less of brick and mortar, because the direction in which the world is facing is not actually, encouraging brick and mortar. A lot of businesses has gone online. Even school business. Even I know quite a number of schools that they have online class and they have the physical class. And, the experience I have with a school owner recently suggests that the number of online students, keeps increasing and the number of physical students keep reducing. And that is the reality of today.
All right. Thank you so much. And I reckon that another way to see that question is for businesses where people believe they have to be there, what kind of technology can they use? And I think we can have things like CCTVs that can help you monitor what people do. And then now CCTVs where you can hear what people say. So it's something that businesses can also invest in to create the semblance of presence with your staff if you believe you have to be there. But CCTV has really helped a lot of people. So thank you so much for that insight, Saeed. That was a fantastic session. I think you've also given us a good background for our panel discussions. So thank you very much for that. I would go ahead to introduce our panelists. So like Saeed said, technology is an enabler for businesses to scale, to create reach, especially for digital marketing, to diversify, and ultimately to build resilience. I think another thing, if you look at the first SME webinar that we had Tara Feladrotwe, and she has said based on the insight she got from data, she realized during the pandemic that people didn't want to buy makeup. Instead, they wanted to buy beauty products, right, to make their skin look better. Because they now sitting at home, they now see their faces more, and then they want to do something about it. And like Saeed said, schools have gone ahead to invest in technology to ensure that they are still in business and they provide services. Hospitals have gone ahead to do telemedicine, right? So technology creates, and I was speaking to someone yesterday, it's an enabler because you already have your system in place. It's how to make that system or that process more efficient and more effective. So I'm very honored and privileged to invite my panelists on today. I'm going to start with Mrs. Saudat Salami. She's an entrepreneur, a thought leader, a founder, and the founder of the Easy Shop, Easy Cook Services Limited. She's the CEO. And Easy Shop, Easy Cook is the foremost multi-platform fresh grocery delivery company in Nigeria that uses technology to provide domestic support services to working professionals. I think that's an amazing idea, and you're doing a good job. Through our work, she has been involved in driving different developmental policies and strategies in agricultural ecosystem, gender equality, and women development with government, private institutions, and different development organizations. She's an Africa Woman Entrepreneurship Corporate alumni, and she's also one of the recipients of the 10,000 Women Scholarship recipients of Goldman Sachs. She's an active member of WIMBIS, and she also volunteers in various charity organizations where she plays meaningful roles in the organization. Welcome, Mrs. Saudat Salami. I'll go ahead to introduce Mr. Akindele Phillips. He's a passionate entrepreneur and the chief executive and co-founder of Farm Crowdy, a global agtech company focused on helping stakeholders in the food value chain to maximize their output and increase their profit using technology. With a game-changing platform which leverages technology to connect over 420,000 food value chain participants in the network with access to finance, to reduce the cost of production, to open market access and harvest better yields. Mr. Akindele is committed to value creation for development of Africa. He believes in numerous possibilities and opportunities available in Africa and constantly seeks ways to maximize them for the benefit of other meaningful and inspired Nigerians. Welcome, both of you. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Abisola.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm going to give both of you 5 minutes each to talk about yourself, your business, and how you have leveraged technology. You are pioneers in what you're doing. You are the poster people for what technology can do to businesses. And we're so happy and so honored to have you here. And I reckon everybody has their pen and their papers to actually take notes. So I will first start off with Mr. Salami, Mr. Akindele. Please, can you please start with your 5 minutes opening remarks?
Thank you so much, Abisola, and thank you to every of the colleagues at the PricewaterhouseCoopers firm. Thank you for the great opportunity. So my name is Akindele Phillips, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of FarmCrowdy. So I'll talk a little bit about FarmCrowdy. So I'm personally a chartered accountant too, and Oyenka Akuma, who is the visionary for FarmCrowdy, but who happened to be a client of mine some years before FarmCrowdy started, reached out to me in 2016. And prior to that, he had engaged a particular cassava farmer. And that's because their president at the time was encouraging a lot of the youth to get engaged in agriculture, to do something in the agricultural space and any part of the food value chain. Right. So he engaged a cassava farmer with his own disposable income and had the farmer cultivate cassava and monitor the process up to harvest and where the farmer was able to make some sale. And the learnings from that helped him. And being a technology enthusiast, he asked himself, look, how can I use technology to drive this impact in the lives of more than one cassava farmer that I've been able to impact? So when he had the idea he started noticing the idea much more in 2016 and reached out to me by middle of the year. And I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to jump on this. This is great. Has a social impact, and you actually will be solving a major problem. So we started brainstorming, and then we launched in November. And what happened was we identified 4 major problems of that cassava farmer, which you can also say it's the major problem is smallholder farmer, bearing in mind that 80% of Nigerian population are in this category operating in the agricultural space. So which means if you can actually impact the lives of smallholder farmers, or other food value chain participants, and you're solving a major problem, which is the food efficiency problem in Nigeria. Also bearing in mind that our population, we're always growing, and it's been estimated that will be doubled by the year 2050. And the 4 major problems we identified then was one, access to funding. We all know that, look, we are blessed with very arable land in large quantities. But the truth is these smallholder farmers, even though they have access to these farmlands, are only able to cultivate a small portion. And that's because they need more funds to scale their production. So access to funding was one major problem. 2 is access to viable inputs, which some of the inputs we've been using are such that have not been leading to higher yield. So if you had applied better varieties of inputs, then you'll have probably gotten more yield. 3 is access to good agronomic practices. Interestingly, most of the methods that have been applied are things that we've learned from our great-great-great-grandfather. And these farmers believe that's the only one. Meanwhile, it's as simple as increasing the spacing between the seeding and another one, which actually will lead to higher yield. So access to good agronomic practices. 3rd, and the last one is access to superior markets, which could be locally or internationally. Because at the end of the day, the farmers that actually overcome some of the problems that you can imagine in the agricultural space in core production now are selling to intermediary layers of middlemen. So the guy in Mile 12, for those that know about Lagos, he's chilling and he's making a lot of returns. Meanwhile, the farmer that actually put in a lot of effort, but he gets peanuts for the efforts he's put into place. So we said, look, if we can collapse that, then they get access to superior markets. And we launched in 2016 November. And what we thought to be the low-hanging fruit was the funding bit, right? So let's solve the funding problem. And because, like you and I can tell, these smallholder farmers don't have access to historical financial records, collateral security to be able to make a case with financial institutions, so they can access loans. So we said, look, why don't we replicate more Oyeka Akumas that can be Nigerians in Nigeria or in the diaspora that have disposable income and be able to fund and solve these funding problems, right? Hence why we started with the funding problem, and what we did was to introduce crowdfunding to the Nigeria space. Right. And we did that from 2016 up to 2019, 2020. I mean, edging all the risk identified, don't give farmers money, give them inputs and all of that, introduce insurance and all of those stories, right? So it was a learning phase for us. And that enabled us to grow a brand, that enabled us to work with a lot of food value chain participants. And fast forward, we realized one key thing. I mean, also coming from the fact that a number of us, including myself, I had a lot of experience in the finance space to say, look, crowdfunding is not a perfect source of funding match for the agribusiness because it's usually characterized by short tenured, high interest rates. So, but we need to solve this funding problem. So what do we do? So we realized, I mean, for us as an entity, we said, look, we'll stop using crowdfunding as a source, but rather focus on funds that be set aside by DFIs and central bank, the Ministry of Agri, and similar institutions, which are usually characterized by longer tenured, better interest rate, probably single digit at times, which is more suited and well suited for those in the agribusiness. And we started that last year. But what happened, and that was all of these pivots came with the lockdown, it enabled us to put a pause on activities and say, look, let's rethink. What can we do to now address? What that allowed us to do is introduce other revenue lines and introduce more services to more players in the food value chain, apart from those in crop production. 2016, we're the ones trying to convince underwriters to say, look, introduce insurance to agriculture. There's a big business in everybody saying, nah, only one or two. By 2017, all underwriters were interested. So you see products in that great space. However, these products were more tailored to the large cooperatives, the large group of farmers. But how do you address the problem of one small older farmer that only has a plot, right, who cannot work in, who isn't able to work with cooperatives? So 2019, we started working with two major underwriters, and we now have microinsurance products where with a minimum of 5,000, they can access a lot of things. If the person should die, a family next of kin registered can access as much as £500,000 naira and all of that and all of that. And so we've seen ourselves grow from just 55,000 food facilitated participants to over 400,000. And I think we're about 600 there about now. If you also add up those that are focused on good agronomic practices and all of that. And in terms of scalability, we've seen ourselves, because all of this is leveraged is hinged on technology. We are now able to replicate the model in other terrains, including East Africa and in the Caribbean. So I'm sure I'll be able to share much later on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I see that you are solving the food problem for a growing population. That's fantastic. Mrs. Salami, let's hear a bit about yourself, your business, and how you have leveraged technology.
Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Okay. My name is Saudat Salami. I'm the founder of Easy Shop Easy Cook. And the idea of Easy Shop Easy Cook, wow, it came in 2001. I have a tech background. In the early 2000s, I was a web developer in my former life and a trainer as well. And of course, thinking about settling down, I was working then, thinking about settling down. And immediately I started, visualizing all the challenges I was going to have as a working woman and also a wife and a mother, having, the balancing all that. And that was the time when it was just after Beijing conference and everybody was talking about gender diversity in the workplace. And I just thought, what are the challenges that the working woman has? Why do women drop off? Because they are married. Because the average woman, because of the domestic, actually 70% of domestic responsibilities are made by women. And I just thought that what are the domestic responsibilities?
Okay, so while we wait for Mrs. Salami to join us back, I'll go back to you, Mr. Kindele. And I like something that you said, that you leverage technology in expanding your business. And the first question I then have is, how are you able, because you're working with farmers, how do farmers use technology? I mean, it would be nice to know how you've educated them to use technology, or what processes you have to bridge that gap.
Thank you so much. Thanks. A very good question. And one thing I would want to reiterate, which you've mentioned in the course of this program, is the fact that technology is an enabler, right? So at the bottom line, you should have a value you bring into the market, which could be traditional or offline, as the case may be. Then you're now asking yourself, how am I able to scale or impact or reach more people? That's when you can introduce technology, right? So for the farmers bit, what has happened is, for the communities, for crop production we've worked at, is we always have people we call ambassadors, right? Those who've engaged us, working with our technical field specialist. And these guys would have introduced in the course of the production 6 months to 9 months, some level of technology we have, because we have, for instance, different apps built internally, in-house. So we have the farmers app, we have the technical fields specialist app, we have the commodity trading app. All of these, there's a proprietary technology we call FarmGate. So what that happens is once there's an ambassador in that community, so if in case a particular set of farmers now need information on application of certain inputs, right, they can use the ambassador to communicate their question, and we can get the answers, responses to them. Or if they have commodities in large quantities, and maybe an off-taker in the blue chip company has requested of us, and we send information out, the ambassador is able to communicate to them and help with aggregating the commodities if they have the ones that meet the quality requirements that we were in. So technology for us is to enable that process, even though most of the time there's more activities offline than online, but technology we've used to be able to scale activities and impact in the agricultural space.
Technology. I don't know.
We can hear you now, Mrs. Salami. We can hear you now.
I'm sorry, but you see, I had
okay.
technology challenges.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, let me quickly go.
I'll give you one more minute, Ms. Salami. Ms. Akindele, thank you very much for that. And I'm going to come back to that. I will leave you with this question before I go back to Ms. Salami. We talked about a lot of apps. The question is, how do startup businesses incur the cost of creating apps? Because you have a lot of apps. The question is, as a business owner, right? How are you able to get over the ordeal of the initial cost of getting these apps and the opportunity cost? There's always an opportunity cost to this cost, right? So I'll leave you that question and I'll go back to Mrs. Salami. Mrs. Salami, your opening remarks, let's get to know. But you were talking about the business. We can hear you. So go ahead now. No, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Like I said, I did a research to find out if women had the challenges that I was anticipating. And they said yes. The men said, shop for my wife, but don't cook for my wife. The women said, do everything for me, right? So I just went ahead and I needed proof of concept. I, of course, telling my parents was a no, because they were like, you want to shop? You want to do what? You have house up. You are shopping. We are shopping for you. Why do you want to shop for somebody else? But I just built the site and I thought they would come. But like what happened to me now, connection went off. And at the time in 2001, we had plug and pray. If anybody can remember, you click and you wait and you pray that, it goes. That was the next connection we had in those days. So everybody that said yes in the research that I had, said, no, I'm sorry, you have to come to my house. I can't just go online and shop. I don't know you. You're buying food. It's very personal. You can just imagine that. It was supposed to be me connecting place your order. I'll call people to deliver. I'll just be out of it because I was working at the time. But it was crazy. I was going back and forth for a few years. But I found my way in 2005 after I went for an entrepreneurial course in Faith Foundation. And, that just took me to a different level and helped me to set up my business properly to address the challenges that I thought. And what technology did for me then was MTN came and it solved all my problem for me. I was telling you yesterday, Bisola, that I used to pray for MTN and everybody that set up that platform at the time because people didn't want to use the site then. They had this apathy for online shopping. They didn't understand it, but they wanted the service. So I had to find a way. And luckily for me, I could get my emails with my phone. People could call me when I'm in the market. It was difficult, but at least I had that phone to use. The website was there. I built my first by myself. But people would just go there and go like, oh, it's fine. Oh, it's okay. But no. They don't want to shop there. They want you to tell them what is in the market. They want you to talk about the market because Nigerians are used to that. And then again, we forget. In Nigeria, in our culture, the woman and the shopping, they are like one. You brag how you shop. You brag that you cooked it. You brag that you know how to select this thing. You brag all these things. So The women didn't even want us to drop food in their house. So you drop it in the office. So they will lie that they did the shopping themselves. And this went on for years, as in like years, so that for me was scary. I don't even know how I kept on till today. But the thing is that every day I see the problem that we're solving. Every day I hear, like now, everybody is talking about diversity, inclusion, and all that. But they forget that 48% of the entry level in the workforce are women. By the time they get to the senior level, it's 22%. There's a reason for this. It's not because the men don't like us. It's because of domestic responsibility, elder care, child care. The average woman will choose home before she chooses the office. Now, if you want diversity, you have to think about how to include the women. And what you need to include the women is to provide support services. If there are no support services for childcare, for shopping services, for every other thing, about 14 different things the housewife will do. If a woman will do, if you remove a woman from the house, from a housewife to a full-time working woman, you can set up 14 different businesses. When women started working full-time, that was when we started having drivers, nannies, laundry, shopping services, makeup. That was when all these other services boomed. Because there are support services that the average housewife does. But now she wants to be a full-time working woman. You need to replace that. So for me, what kept me in this business is the fact that I constantly think of people still talking about big companies still sharing how they've diversified their workforce and how they've kept women. But they are not talking about how to create and partner with support service. So which is what we do at eVishop. We partner with some corporate organizations that have D&I policies, and we help them, we partner with them so that we can shop and provide support services for their professional staff, especially the women. Because if we're able to take that part out of it, they are able to stay in the office. So you can't be talking about D&I without talking about creating. It's not just putting a pool table in the office or putting a gym in the office. That doesn't matter to the women. You're talking about where they can breastfeed their babies. You're talking about creche. You're talking about understanding that a woman that is now married, that has been faithful to you for like 4 or 5 years, but is now married, is now taking fertility pills and she's not feeling well. She's on a period and she's upset. Those are inclusive things that you need to have in mind. So this is what we try to push on our platform. And that's why we continue to be here. In terms of the technology, we use different things. We are multi-platform. A lot of women, a lot of people still do not want to use the website, fully. So we allow people to shop on our website. We allow them to shop on WhatsApp. We allow them to shop SMS. We have women that have domestic staff that they call us on the phone by voice and they place the order. The bottom line is we want to be flexible enough, and because we understand the challenges they have, and this allows us to provide service to them remotely. So anything we can do to communicate with them remotely to get their orders, because we also shop for our in-laws, we shop for the church as a working woman. How can she do that? So we provide those services for them with any technology we can afford, any platform that will allow us to reach our customers. We do that.
Thank you so much, Ms. Salami. And I can tell you, as a full-time working woman, you are saving lives. I can tell you that. And I think we've gone away from that era of, I don't want to take the shopping home, bring it to the office. No, if you can bring the cook, we can bring the food home. We are fine with that now. If that era has gone. No, I can tell you for that. So maybe you need a new survey. We need to use a new survey. Send us this survey. We'll help you pass it around. We want people to cook for us now. I can tell you that. But you mentioned something. Yours is a multi-platform use of technology. So it's not really apps, right? And I like that because it then means that when we talk about technology, it's not just websites. It's not just apps. It's the fact that I can use my phone. There's emails, right? I can use emails. I can use SMS and things like that. And I think that's quite... It's something to say, because people assume that before I can use technology, that's where we want to get to, but you can start with what you have now and then scale up, right? You're right. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll go to this question I have with, which I will also ask you, which is the cost. How do you get over the initial cost of technology? How do you get over that? Mr. Akindele?
Thank you so much, Abisola. And I hope the men have received enough shades today from Mrs. Salami. We need to support our women more. So I totally agree. So how do we get cover the cost of technology as a startup? I would say the first thing, if you're just starting, and that comes from a lot of experience in that startup space, is your founding team. So once you've identified the problem you want to solve, I think the next thing is to ask yourself, what are the competencies you have? What advantage you have in solving that problem, right? So what you don't have, if it's technology, for instance, look for a co-founder that will solve that problem. And I will tell you why. So for instance, all of the stories I'm saying we built and all of that is because a co-founder, so the third person that jumped on the bandwagon was Christopher, who's our co-founder and CTO. At that time, he must have done over 15 years of training people in technology, on apps, and coding and all of that. So that solved that problem. So we got it well for free, right? And everything we built here, we usually now have a lot of technology colleagues come in, and it trains them more, and they brainstorm and they build modern apps and all of that. So, and I've seen this work several times. Sometimes I came on board because Oyeka said, I'm taking this is huge. I need someone I can rely on with financial advisory, right? So hence why he reached out to me, right? So he also solved the advisory, the finance part bit of the business model by getting a co-founder. I think that's the best, right? And then, except maybe you're starting with big cash, but I think it's even cheaper and it's more sustainable to have a co-founder that can solve, if it's a major element in your business model, to have that person as a co-founder. I think that's the best answer I would give from all my experience.
And I don't think there would have been a better answer, because I was hoping that you would say, oh, we then had this $1 billion with them. And I'm like, okay, how are my SMEs going to have $1 billion? But I think you nailed it. How do you look at the founding team and you look at the skill set that you need? I mean, I think that can even be a webinar by itself. How do you create a founding team for people who want to start their businesses? Mrs. Salami, I know you have an interesting answer to that one. Because as a founder who is also a developer, the question is, how did you beat your own cost?
Yeah, luckily for me, they say that no knowledge is lost. I had, by the time I got into tech, it was very early on, where you have to do everything. Unlike now that everybody has specialized, you have a graphic person, you have a UI, UX, you have a front end, we didn't have that then. We had front page, we had, you are building everything by yourself. You are the graphics, you are the Corel Draw, Photoshop, you are the back end, you are the everything. I mean, that was what we had then. And so that helped me, right? Of course, I didn't know that was an advantage at the time, but that helped me because I built the first site, I built the second one by myself. And subsequently, when I realized that, look, the technology wasn't exactly what was holding my business, what my business needed. So I just focused on the supply chain. Then I outsourced every other thing. So I didn't have to bring in a CTO, but I understood what I wanted. So it was easy for me to outsource, the other version of my website. But it's very important for you. I still tell a number of my mentees right now that, look, you need to partner. What, Mr. Kendele said is just perfect. You actually need to have, I suffered a lot for being a single founder. I suffered a lot at the time. And that was because my idea then was very new and everybody thought I was crazy. So nobody wanted to come on board with me. But now I really do advise people that, you need to get a CTO. And that really helped me because of the graphics, because of everything that I would do. I can vet it. They didn't even need to overcharge me because those that I knew that were very good in this, they also know that I can do it. I'm just telling you to do it for me because I'm probably doing something else. So, and I know how to tweak it myself. I can use all the tools. Although a lot of things are happening, I can't even recognize the codes anymore, but I know what I want. I know the output. And if you're messing with me like a lot of tech people do and come up with all sorts of jargons, I will know, right? I might not know the new things, but I will know. But the thing is, you can outsource. And outsourcing technology is not just for your website. You outsource for graphics. You outsource for your virtual assistant. You outsource for practically everything. The thing is that people are afraid. They're afraid of technology. They're afraid to click. They're afraid that there's somebody, there's a liar at the back. They're afraid of so many things. So that is, I think, what is the real problem here. That you can actually click and something will happen and it is all good. So we need to get that off our mind. Even with the Excel, a lot of people, like a lot of my mentees, when they come to see me, they're carrying the book From the first day I started, yes, I've always had a notebook, but I use my Excel to write my account and all that. My husband is a chartered accountant, and because nobody supported me, if he comes back from work, he wants to know what I have done with my time if I'm doing this business. So I had to account for it. So and I had mentors initially that also wanted to see if my idea made sense. So keeping a record was important for me, and Excel is very good. It's still very good for you to keep a record. By the time you now move to other software, application software, you will already be used to it. Then again, using the technology that we have now, WhatsApp and all that, and even Flutterwave and Paystack, they give you an opportunity to put your website there. It's not a website really, but at least you can put your products there. There you let your customers familiarize themselves dealing with you virtually. So the trust is being built. They've paid you, you have delivered. The problem is fulfillment. A lot of people, you just take the money and they do not fulfill. They will not tell you, and that is why a lot of us are suffering. So it's very easy for me to mentor people and tell you, please, when they place an order with you, make sure you deliver whatever they say. Because if you don't, it affects my own business. It affects Farm Crowdy. Because everybody is going to be afraid now because you have messed up. But if I do well, and because I go to ShopRite, I go to Spa, I go to all these places, or everybody can thrive. If you come to me and I treat you well, when my customer goes to you tomorrow, she expects you to treat her well remotely without seeing you. So that's the beauty about it.
You're right, because really, everybody is in the trust business. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to build trust, right? And that's what PwC is doing also. I'm going to have one more question for both of you. The first question to Ms. Akindele is, how are you able to get your staff to buy into your vision? How are you able to, because one of the things we'll say is, I use technology, but my staff members don't know how to use it. They've not bought into the vision. How are you able to get your staff members to buy into that vision and to use technology the way you want it to use, you want it to be used?
Thank you very much, Abdisala. And I would say one of the key things I've also realized, even from startups within our climb and those in other markets, is the visionary should be able to, once you have a dream that is beyond you, you find people that will take a pay cut or even work for you for free. One good thing that visionary, that's been able to do, Yeka, when starting was, for me, so when I even got on board, the story we always tell, I think for almost 2 years, I wasn't even earning a salary, but I was there. Twice a week, I was there because this vision is beyond us. So what we are seeing right now, things we had seen in 2016, now we are saying governments, different countries reaching out to us, want to replicate the model. Some countries we say, look, just give us the technology and we're happy to run it ourselves and all of that. But we are seeing that in 2016. So what had happened was, over time, we've seen a lot of people join us because they were sold out to the vision. And we've seen a lot of people that are taking pay cuts from where they were coming from because they saw something bigger and that they wanted to be a part of. And we thank God that we over time are still treading along those lines, and the trajectory is bigger than we even anticipated some 5 years ago. So I think the first key thing is to have and be able to communicate your vision to be able to articulate it clearly. And it's first step, because you want the best hands, but obviously you are bootstrapping. So how do you solve that? But if you have a vision that is beyond and is beyond you, trust me, there are wonderful Nigerians that would up on this and be able and work with you in achieving it and seeing it come to life without you having to break an arm and a leg to pay them for it. And that has worked for us for Farm Crowdy. Even internationally, so our country managers in 2 countries we're at, one in this continent, one in another continent, they've taken a huge pay cut. And every day they're even pushing us further that we've done in Nigeria to say, look, we can do this, guys. We can do this in our markets, and these are the opportunities we are seeing. Yeah, so that's it for us. Fantastic. That's what has worked for us.
Fantastic. And I have a lot of questions, but I see that the participants have a lot of questions. Mrs. Salami, if it helps, there's a man here who says, I'm a founder. I have a fantastic and high-performing employee. Okay. I'm considering gifting her part shares. I would like to know what I'm against. So Maybe that's a question for Mr. Akindele. And then there's one here that talks about. I have a question for Ms. Alami. Ms. Alami, this is for you. We are building a tech solution for OOH media industry. My major challenge is getting a committed developer to work with us within available resources. Kindly advise, and can you be of assistance to me? Oh, Mrs. Akindele is no longer a developer now. But Mrs. Akindele, that was your question.
So am I going first?
Yes. Okay. Mr. Phillips, you can go first. You go first. Yes. Okay.
So the question is, you have a fantastic member of staff and you want to actually give some share to the staff. I would say that's a wonderful entrepreneur and the founder, right? You hardly find them here, right? And it's good. What I would just recommend is brilliant and is another way to ensure that they still stay with you along the way for several years. And I'll actually advise any new founder, look, as part of your structuring of your shareholding, to have some portion of it available for as stock options, which you probably vest depending on how you want it to vest. So if you have organizations saying, look, 10% of our total stock, we have your stock options for the early employees. And we expect that whatever portion we're giving them will vest for, let's say, 5 years or 7 years. It's a way to also give them back, because guess what? Those that have stock options in Alibaba, we all know the story. Even if you had 0.01 in Alibaba, you'll be a big man now.
They are millionaires now.
Exactly. So, and those guys, I mean, they were teachers. Majority of them, if you read the book, a lot of them were teachers and they gave their all to it. So if you have an employee that is giving you the best, please adopt that for her and or him and any other person. I mean, from the onset, you can even have stock options that will vest. So vesting means each year there's part of that stock you made available to them that becomes theirs. And you can let it vest for as much as 5 to 7 years, as the case will be. So thank you so much for that founder for, making this, providing this to the great employee.
Yes, I think Mr. Udo is one of the new type of founders that we have who have seen the light and they know that bringing people on as co-founders actually helps. Mrs. Saudat, when you were away, we have a question here. So there's a question there. We're building a tech solution for OOH media industry. I reckon that is the person's business. And their major challenge is getting a committed developer to work with us within available resources. Kindly advise, and can you be of assistance to them?
Oh, wow. Well, Akide has said that you need to give them shares. You know, the thing is that a lot of us, like someone that has an idea thinks that they are more valuable than the person that has money. That's what happens. And again, you now find the person that has money. Can you hear me? Oh my God, technology, help me.
Yeah, no.
Can you hear me?
No, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Great.
I wanted to say, Ms. Salami. So this person is looking for a committed developer to work with them with available resources. So I reckon they think you still provide that service, but I don't think you you don't develop for people anymore.
No. I don't develop for people anymore. I'm sure I can't even recognize a bad code. But the thing is, people just need to. For me now, right now you start at zero. Everybody is valuable on the table, because if that person is not there, the developer just needs to know that I am valued. That is what I've seen in a number of co-founders that we have today. Someone thinks that I'm the one doing all the work and this person is getting all the praise. That is exactly what happens. And it is, you see a lot of businesses, they raise money. After they raise money, they've broken up. So the thing is, at the end of the day, before money starts coming in, everybody's valuable on the table. Because if you remove one person from that table, the developer from the table or the marketer from the table, the CEO is a salesman. If you're not a salesman, forget it. And you're just as valuable as the developer. So it doesn't matter what you develop. If you cannot sell it, that's the end. So everybody needs to understand that they are valuable. So if you find people that can understand that, don't devalue them because you are the one that had the idea. Don't. Give them what they want, negotiate it, find the dotted line before money starts coming in. But when you are looking for a committed, you see, he mentioned committed. Developers, let me tell you, they do multiple businesses. Please, don't even think that he's going to be or she's going to be dedicated to only you. And when you find out that the person is doing something else, you're upset. There's not like a committed developer. It's a developer that is working for you that signed the agreement. So far, what will I call it? He delivers the job that you have asked for. It is fine, right? But this developer that can code, I kid you not, is going to do multiple businesses. So let's just solve that. Let's know that one now.
So it's really more about getting. It's really more about getting a committed developer, a developer committed to your own objective, right? Committed to your own objective.
Your project and your delivery time.
Yeah.
Your project and your delivery time. Let's face that. And sign the agreement based on that, but not tying the person to say you will not be doing another work.
Okay. I have a question. I was going to say last comment. I had a question for Mrs. Salami on how long it would take to get products from her website, right? I guess she would answer that when she comes back on. But because this has been very insightful. I have so many questions, but then again, guess what? I only have 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and collate all the questions that we've not been able to answer and send it to our panelists and have their answers, and they can then share that with everyone who has joined us today. I think it's something we can do. People have questions, and one of the questions I would love Mr. Kalami, if you can take this in half a minute, is how do you calculate the return on investments for digital investments, right? What benchmarks and tools can be helpful? So I've done, I bought 5 apps. So how do I ensure that I'm getting returns on this investment? I mean, half a minute if you can to answer that question.
Oh, is that for me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So for us, we develop all of this internally, right? What we ask ourselves is the app solving solution. Also remember that we have a social impact element to us. So if we are providing, for instance, an app providing good agronomic practices to farmers, we are obviously not generating revenue from that. So if you now focus on return on investment, that's not a good yardstick for that, right? So, but for farm credit foods, for instance, which came into play during
really
the lockdown,
more around.
Yes, so there are different ways we measure the impact or ability of that software application solving what we created it for. So it's not like he's not an
so
investment.
It's solving the problem designed for.
Exactly.
Right. I guess yours is almost like a work. Yours is almost like a work tool, isn't it? Yours is almost like a work tool.
So we have different ones. So we have farm crowded food, for instance, which is fair produce. You want to share cow, you want to buy goats and all of that. You can do that and deliver at your doorstep. That's different. There's another one for the blue chip companies. They want to buy maize in tonnage and they want to place an order. And then between us and the farmers, we aggregate and deliver. So some are internal, some are external, B2B or B2C as the case may be.
All right. Thank you very much. Like I said, Mr. Lamy, when you were away, people wanted. I had a question on how long it would take for people to use your website and how long it takes to deliver. So if I order on your website, how long does it take to deliver to my house or to the destination I want it to be delivered to? Did you get that? Oh no, I think she's frozen again. Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Akindele and Mr. Lamy. That was, I think we should have had probably 45 minutes for the panel discussions because people have a lot of questions. Like I said, we'll try and send that to you, get all the questions, the answers, and share with people. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure. It was a privilege to have both of you join us. And I can see a lot of people saying, I'm going to see what I can do on Farm Crowdy. And people want to shop with Easy Shop, Easy Cook. So I'm happy about that. That's creating awareness for you. So thank you so much for me. In my closing remarks, I want to thank everybody who has joined us today. What have I learned? Technology is an enabler. I've also learned that it's important that you have founders who meet some of the requirements or skills gap that you don't have, which basically helps and reduces your cost long term. And it's also good that we look at the benefits that we have from technology in expanding, in creating awareness, in expanding our business, in diversifying, in creating efficiencies in our businesses, ultimately increasing our bottom line and creating resilience. We have a thought leadership document that we would share with everyone. It's also on our website. It will be on our website from tomorrow. So you can also look at that, leverage on that, and see what you can learn from that thought leadership. Our next event is in 3-4 months' time, and we'll be talking about funding your startup. Funding is always a major issue for SMEs. It's something we want to tackle at the next session. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to my panelists for coming to Said. Thank you, and for Femi Oshinobi, thank you so much for joining us. It was a fantastic one. So have a wonderful day. Derek, you can take it away. Thank you very much.